Good afternoon, comrades. Welcome back to our channel. We hope you've been enjoying your Easter break. Right now, the device you are seeing is an old Nokia Lumia 820. If you guys are not familiar with this old mobile phone, this is among one of the first Nokia Lumia mobile phones that support 4G connection. It hit the market with the legendary Nokia Lumia 920 in the winter of 2012. This device shares the same processor, the dual-core 1.5 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon S4, as found in the Nokia Lumia 920, the legendary phone that still stands today. In this device, we get 8 gigs of internal storage. That's about a quarter of the size available in the Nokia Lumia 920, the legendary phone that still stands today. However, a drawback of this phone is that it features a Samsung AMOLED screen, which is well known for its PWM flickering plus its less responsive touch experience, in contrast to most well-known IPS LCD displays. So what is this system about? This system that we are on now is an early insider build of Windows 10 Mobile that never hit the market in any OEM retail Windows phones. The version number shows that it is the optimized build that addressed some fatal problems which was present in its predecessor of version 10.0.10536.1000. This system version is 10.0.10534.1004, which is the optimized version. It took us a lot of efforts to successfully upgrade this old phone to this version, which you see still supports double tapping the screen to wake it up, and is synchronized to the current date. Now let's run some of the Android apps that we've spent a lot of efforts to install onto this phone to see its performance. On the current date, in this version of Windows 10 mobile system that is claimed to support running Android apps. Let's slide over to the Start menu, and as you can see, there are some recently installed Android apps that are not released to the Windows Phone system. So let's try to run them and test it out. As you could see, each app takes a bit of time to load, but unfortunately it's a shame that this one does not open and run correctly. Maybe it's because some games are quite heavy of a task to execute on an old hardware platform on Windows Phone. Let's see if the legendary Minecraft Pocket Edition runs, which I think it should do. The game truly pulls our valuable memories out of the drawer. And for you guys who are not familiar with the channel we've been doing, our channel mainly delivers Minecraft train operation experience. Yes, as a railway company or a railway line operator. Let's see if this creates a world that we would like to play on. Let's make a new one. Stick to creative to construct stuff. And in the seed number, let's throw these text suggestions away because that's a waste of space. And let's put the legendary number into it. In case you are not familiar with this seed, let's take a look carefully. Let it generate the world. There are multiple types of games around, but unfortunately the other one that's known as Magic Tower, a Chinese game, does not run on this phone. But as you could see, Minecraft runs successfully. And sure, we could easily move around. Guess what? We are facing west in this game to the seaside. It's so amazing. Fortunately, on this old phone, we still have the physical nav bar, so we could easily press the hard button to return. We don't have to pull the nav bar out like on any newer phones like the 640, because this phone still has the physical nav bar that lights up. Some of the lower end phones like the 430 has the physical nav bar, but it doesn't light up. So fortunately, Nokia used to be making a contribution in Nokia Lumia to both the industry and its users. And once we quit the game, it saves the game successfully. So, fab. Minecraft works perfectly. Now let's test out some apps that would be for work or doing proper business. Let's see the Duo mobile app, which is very commonly used these days, and this is the last version to support Android 4.4.4 KitKat operating system. You can see the app boots up successfully as it's setting things up and taking us into its interface. We're not very sure if adding a university account for the University of Manchester on this version of the Duo mobile app still works on a Windows phone, but if you are eager to try it out, welcome to try it at your own risk. One thing we admit about the University of Manchester is that their IT services are inclusive to students who are using old devices for whatever the reason. As such, it may not always be a wise move to upgrade to a newer device whenever one comes out, especially when in the current era of American AI colonization. It wakes up successfully and brings us to the main interface, so it would work properly, but we can't test with a university account of one of us yet. Let's pass this away. And now let's try something even new. This greenish app with a white triangle on it, in case you are not very familiar with it, you'll know it when we operate it. For fellow Chinese audience watching this video, you might know this app easily because this app allows us to reach a Chinese server in a foreign country whenever we need to run one of the Chinese financial apps, especially the mobile bank apps in a foreign country for reasons such as Remitly. Let's give it permissions to make it work. Hopefully it will work, even though we've not got an internet connection for this phone yet. As you could see, the app starts properly, but we cannot log into this app yet, so we may not be able to conduct further tests on this specific app. But in theory, if this app can still create a vanadium, phosphorus, nickel connection on the phone, on the Windows phone, then it should theoretically still work as long as you've got a membership account to this app. So we could regard this app as working. I mean, this greenish app. We can safely regard it as it's working, but we don't know if it behaves well with an internet connection with one of us membership account on it. So let's leave it there. And finally, let's test this big app on the top. Okay, something interesting has happened. By opening the Bank of China app on this Windows phone, we have successfully triggered a reboot of the phone, which is one thing we did not expect with testing the phone's functionality. Let's see if we are still encountering bugs that prevent developer mode from operating correctly after this unplanned stupid reboot. However, please be assured that one thing that would happen if you're using a different mobile phone to this one is that if it is a quad-core mobile phone, except the Microsoft Lumia 400 series or the Nokia Lumia 630 series that's got only half a gig of RAM, except the 638 and 635 variants that have 1 gig of RAM, the apps will run quicker with quad-core support. However, on the phones with half a gig of RAM, there would be further lag when operating any of these apps that we have installed via a wired connection onto a supported laptop. After this unplanned stupid reboot, let's see if these Android apps still run. Fortunately, these Android apps are still loading and setting things up properly. And luckily enough, after leaving the single app to start for a while, we've finally successfully reached its familiar main user interface. But what really interests us is whether we can still deploy further apps onto this very Windows phone after this unplanned reboot, leaving the system time to the current date. Let's start settings. For those of you who've played with the leaked Windows Mobile 10.0.1024.16384 that was only available to the Lumia 640 series as well as the Nokia Lumia 930, this system is a newer version than that, as we've seen. So let's see if this behaves any differently from that version, because on that version, developer mode fails. Let's see if it works. As you could see on this version, 10.0.10536.1004, developer mode is still working perfectly after a reboot with the network connected, or with at least with the time set to the current date. Fortunately, we are still able to launch the device, and on the computer screen we could read that it says there's a connected device. If you want to see, on the computer screen it does say that in Chinese it says devices connected, and on the phone it still says there's one paired device. That's the supported computer we've used to test its behavior. Therefore, as far as we've tested on this old Nokia Lumia 820, we could safely use developer mode to install Android apps via a computer, which is a great benefit to the lucky Chinese people who are our fellows, who are lucky enough to live without Google's colonization and live an independent digital style. Therefore, these old Windows phones can be safely repurposed as long as it is upgraded correctly to this optimized version of Windows Phone system that still allows using developer mode to install supported Android apps for Android 4.4.4 KitKat via a USB connection to a supported computer that requires pairing device in advance. However, looking at the specs of the phone, we would recommend you to try doing it on one of the quad-core Lumia Windows phones that has 1 GB of RAM to get a smoother experience. We are not exactly sure about the Qualcomm 200 phones that are on the MSM 8212 chipset, which are quad-core still. But if you are lucky enough to have a supported Windows phone that's got Qualcomm 400 or Qualcomm 800, which can be upgraded successfully to this version of Windows Phone system, look at the version number carefully. It's 10.0.10536.1004. If your Windows Phone can be safely upgraded to this supported version, it will just behave as what we've shown you in the video. If you are unfortunately on a device that's got only half a gig of RAM, or a similar device to the one used in this video that's only got a dual-core processor, you might get a similar or slower experience on less RAM devices than was shown in this video. Bear in mind that not all of the supported Android 4.4.4 KitKat apps can work on these Windows phones based on the limitation of the hardware spec. If you are lucky enough to experiment with this on a phone with Qualcomm 400 and ideally Qualcomm 800, you can get a better experience of Android apps to repurpose your Windows phones to keep them in service for longer. We all need each other's cooperation to get rid of soil pollution by recycling, reusing, repurposing our old stuff, as well as to fight against the market economy colonization that's been flooding around the world with hateful inflations. If our video has helped you guys, please subscribe to our channel and share our video to your fellow friends around you, and let more people with less budget or existing Windows Phone devices know that they've got these amazing features to keep them in service until the day the year 2038 problem breaks out. Thank you sincerely for your cooperation.